has the era of ChatGPT fast-forwarded what you thought was achievable in artificial intelligence?
Right. No, so I started working with OpenAI back in 2018 when it was still the nonprofit. And then in 2019, it became the for-profit. And but I think as a company, it's really almost only a year old because it was so formative in that time between 2015 and 2022. Most people hadn't heard of it. We were writing and researching. And then in 2022, ChatGPT became this consumer-facing platform that was so easy to use, so user-friendly, and it just took off. The setting records for its uptake, 100 million users within the first 2 months, and now 100 million users per week, which is really astonishing.
It's incredible to track how far we've come in the space of the year, but much of the last 2 weeks' events put the spotlight on what's to come next, the next generation of large language model. On the board issue, this is what Bret Taylor, who is interim chair of OpenAI's board, said: "We will build a qualified, diverse board of exceptional individuals reflecting OpenAI's messaging from technology to policy." That last bit, technology to policy. Why is the makeup of OpenAI's board important to their success in developing the technology?
Yeah, I think what we saw in those 2 weeks, in these last 2 weeks, was just that kind of tug of war almost between the two visions of what AI should look like. And there have been a lot of discussions about how much of that was just kind of a myth and outsiders reading things that weren't there. But it does seem like there are these two real philosophies about how quickly to move, and that the philosophy about moving quickly seems to have won out. And I think what the board should do, or its intended role, is to be kind of a rudder in choppy waters, or what could be choppy waters. But I think where the nonprofit board, the former board, got in the way was that its vision was so at odds, or seemed to be at odds, with not just the direction OpenAI is going, but AI in general. And so I think right now we're in a real arms race, and I think legitimate perspective of the OpenAI people who have stayed is that this technology is developing quickly, whether we're on board or not. And so we might as well OpenAI, be leading and trying to do it responsibly. So, the nonprofit, or what is the nonprofit board, but the former board, I think it wasn't that they didn't want to develop AI, but I think they just had different ways of doing it. So the new board will come in and try to, I think, be more compatibly aligned with the direction that the company and with the direction that AI is going.
And of course, much of the hand-wringing around AI and safety has been a worry about bias. That is why many people are saying you need to have minorities at the table. You need to ensure that all voices are heard here. We re-established that the interim board as it stands looks pretty undiverse, one of them being Larry Summers, of course, a paid contributor of Bloomberg. I'm interested as to what you think, Sarah, will be the next iteration. Will OpenAI be able to be as agile going forward, do you think, after this?
No, I think that has to be a real goal. And I think for them, and in general, that diversity is not an end in itself, but it does give you different perspectives. Some of the early versions of AI really did, I think, warrant some criticism about bias and discrimination. So I think there is a lot of attentiveness to that. So it's important for that board to be able to red team different ideas and present different perspectives without being misaligned. I know alignment is a big term in the AI world, but just kind of contributing to a different set of perspectives that can kind of be a force for good while not holding back the technology.